million pupils and over 5 million hospital users per annum are benefiting from the use of our products. Therefore, altogether, more than 7 million people are benefiting from our system, and we are doing this all on a business basis. Why? Well, it's been only 7 or 8 years since we started it, so we are still in the middle of the journey. But I'd like to think back and what we've been doing, and I think we can see a new pattern of future trade and investment for Japanese companies. We call this a soft investments. This is different from merely importing something from overseas and put them on the store shelves. What we think is important is something we can produce locally in Rwanda. And together with the customers, we try to raise the hygiene standard. And as an investment, as it says, what we gave was the traditional Japanese technology. That's the original business idea and the technology. And easy to handle products that the local staff can produce after a certain amount of training. So, and organic and eco-friendly and harmless to humans and animals, and cheaper than chemical competition. Our products cost about a third of the imported chemical products. Another investment from our side after the idea and the technology is the commitment. What do you gain from a better public hygiene? That's the question we discussed until we share the same understanding and the answer. And be patient. And we actually clean the toilets with pupils and cleaning staff. And we keep talking to school teachers and hospital doctors about its benefits. And we don't use distributors. Our staff do all the delivery. You can see in the picture how it's distributed. We do all the delivery to each and single customer. It's not making a quick buck, but steadily, just using common sense, steadily working hard and trying to gain the understanding from the business partner. But we'll make a proper business with a proper profit. Then the customer comes to you. And we get the feeling that we've been doing really good job. That's how we go about. Next. This is the 10th year. Well, nearly we are entering the 10th year from Rwanda to the neighboring DRC. We have started the export. We started in Goma, the products to be used in the toilet, and Uganda and Tanzania. These EAC countries are on our roadmap. Simple and cheap and very effective products we'd like to send eventually to the whole of Africa. Here in Kenya, we sell these microorganisms-based products for agricultural use. Kenya is one of the largest exporters of roses and flowers in the world. By helping to improve the microorganic environment of the soil, we contribute to the production of high-quality horticulture products. We heard that the continued use of a chemical fertilizer leads to acid soil with lower yield and quality. Our natural products are used by 400 flower farmers and horticultural farmers in Kenya. And the number of customers are on the increase. These people benefit from long-lasting, large and healthy flowers, or fresh and tasty vegetables if it's used for vegetable field. So the consumers get the benefit too. Healthy agricultural development and farm development can't be achieved without healthy soil. In Rwanda, we want our products to be used not only in the world-famous export coffee and tea, but also other agribusiness such as macadamia nuts. I used to do macadamia nuts in Kenya, but in Rwanda, macadamia nuts and flowers. We want to expand our business to these areas. And of course, we'd like to grow our business in other countries too. Large projects are wonderful, but smaller size like ours, using the Japanese traditional technologies and skills, and through public hygiene and agriculture business. It's not flamboyant, but we take time and to conduct a worthwhile work. The concept of making together something truly good is something we can put into action in Africa, working together. This working together is important spirit, and that's how we can do it. I hope working together with you, we can grow a prosperous growth business from a long-term perspective. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sato. Maybe this is needless to say, but he was the founder of the company, and he started from almost nothing and made it into such a large, successful corporation. So for us, he's a senior figure in African business in terms of experience with Africa. Thank you very much for great presentation. So next presentation will be the last from the Japanese side. So yes, from Mr. Kuroki Keisuke of Japan Oil, Gas and Metals National Corporation, JOGMEC, president of the company. Hello, everyone. Good. My name is Kuroki, the chairman of the board of directors at Japan Oil, Gas and Metals National Corporation, in short, JOGMEC. I am honored to have this opportunity to speak before you as a representative for JOGMEC at this Tokyo International Conference on African Development. Upon holding of TICAD, I would like to express my gratitude to Can Invest, etc., and all affiliate organizations for all unstinting efforts. Japan is a poor country in terms of natural resources such as petroleum, natural gas, and minerals. Securing a stable supply of resources from overseas is a very important issue. Therefore, Japan must actively invest in resource development overseas. However, such investment requires vast sums of money, and it comes with major risks. Hence, Japanese companies need financial and technical assistance, and the Japanese government's agency JOGMEC has been playing an important role in that sense. In order to help improve development technology in resource-rich countries, and in order to contribute to a stable and long-term production, it is significant to contribute to the development of human resources. At JOGMEC, we invite technicians in oil and natural gas, coal, metal, and geothermal industries from all around the world to come to Japan. And also we're focusing on initiatives to spend experts from Japan in various regions in the world to conduct and training. And Africa is considered to have a high potential for energy resources and metal resources. It is a well-known fact that in the region, oil and metals, coals, and are also geothermal areas, and welcome all the engineers to Japan, and also dispatch Japanese engineers and other personnel to Africa as well, to all the African nations. So through these activities, we have been trying to secure natural resources which are essential to sustainable growth in Africa. We focus on educating people to develop into human resource in the energy industry in the country and keep increasing the number of such people. So here in this slide, the current activities in Africa that JOGMEC have been promoting have been shown. In 2008, we established a remote sensing center in Botswana as the technology transfer center, which has played a central role in technology transfer of our satellite image analysis and human resource development. Mainly in South Africa. In addition, JOGMEC has been financially and technically supporting resource development projects in the areas of oil and natural gas in 9 countries, 19 projects in 9 countries. And you might find it a little bit hard to read these letters, but in blue, these are the joint venture exploration or equity capital provision. And for the red part, oil and gas, this is also a joint study project, was the catalyst. And in green, it is the business with the coal-related area. So we implement a geological surveys as well, and also into development. So this is the outlook over the projects that we've been involved in, the 15 projects altogether. So in terms of new projects of the exploration and other preparatory activities requires ample funding. So this is something that we have been engaging with. Next, please. So for the human resource development projects, the number of the trainees that we've been, there are altogether more than 1,500 trainees. So from exploration to development techniques have been transferred in Japan to the African personnels. And then we welcome 300 trainees from 15 different countries in Africa. And globally, African trainees account for 30% of all the trainees that we welcome from all over the world. And then this is the remote sensing center, as I mentioned earlier, and then also the geological information system. there we welcome African geologists there, so we can train them as altogether 1,700 people. And so in the area of coal, Japan and Mozambique agreed to 5-year development plan for the coal industry development in Mozambique, and Japanese experts have come to Mozambique, and 42 trainees have participated in training there, and another 28 came to Japan for training. In the area of geothermal energy, we have welcomed 5 trainees from Kenya and Ethiopia in 2015 as part of the JICA's Kizuna program, and we demonstrated JOGMEC's activities. So altogether, it will be from 25 countries, in total of 1,550 trainees that we welcomed and trained. So finally, I hope it helped you understand our activities in Africa within the time constraints. So in Kenya and Mozambique, upon holding the TICAD this time, and we have managed to agree with workshop agreements with them, and then we're going to continue to endeavor in engaging on training programs in Japan and also in Africa. So basically, if you were interested in further information about JOGMEC, please come to our booth in the Japan Fair Pavilion. And for oil, metals, and coal, and also the geothermal businesses have been introduced there by our experts from our company, and also for diversification of economy, and in order to promote the business and economic development, and we have been putting a lot of efforts into it, and we're going to continue putting efforts even more. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Thank you very much. As Mr. Kuroki said, at the Japan Fair Pavilion, you can ask for very in-detail information, so please go there, make yourself move there. Thank you very much.
I would like to pass to the MC role to the Mr. Kitoni, Chairman.
Organization with 20,000 members in Kenya. We are part of the Global Chamber Organization in 177 countries, and we are also members of the Pan-African Chambers of Commerce and Industry. We are very privileged as Kenya to be hosting the first TICAD outside of Japan, and one of the great benefits of forums such as this is that it gives us an opportunity to exchange and share knowledge of what we do in the business environment. And owing to the great shortage of time this afternoon, there's a slight change of program. If you look at the program, it says that there will be a Q&A session as well as a summary of the discussions. Those two shall not be held, but we shall instead go straight into the presentations by 4 African companies that are doing business in Africa for the benefit of all of us in the room. So to start us off, I'd like to invite Mr. Adel Sami, the chairman and founder of the Wadi Degla Group, to make a short and concise presentation. Welcome.
Karibo. Hello everyone. I'm here representing a group called Wadi Degla Holding. And Wadi Degla Holding is an Egyptian company that started in 1994. It was started by my younger brother, another friend, and myself. And now it became one of the biggest companies in Egypt in various investments, not only in Egypt, but we are also present in 12 African countries. I was one of the founders. As you can see, I'm dressed in black because I became an Orthodox priest recently. That was after I started my business, but I'm still acting as the chairman for the group. So I'm delighted to be here actually among all of your good selves to give maybe some idea about our company and also about our experience in Africa, as we are present already in 12 African countries since around 13 years. Well, actually, as you can see from the presentation, our company is having activities in various segments. We started as an infrastructure, telecommunication infrastructure contractor. That was the start of the company. This company is named Egypro, is owned 100% by our group. And it was mainly focused on developing turnkey solutions for the infrastructure related to telecoms. This company has been growing into Africa. We are in many African countries. We are here in Kenya since 13 years, as well as other countries in East Africa, West Africa, and North Africa. We have developed this company a lot within the last years because, of course, as you probably all know, telecom companies, the infrastructure business is a bit slowing down. So this company now has become investing in infrastructure. So we are investing in solar power in our country, in Egypt, expanding this investment in energy into East Africa. We already had talks with some partners here in Kenya and in Ethiopia in order to expand our business in power generation and power distribution in a few projects. Leveraging on our presence in these countries since 13 years and our knowledge of the African countries. Actually, while 13 years ago, while many of the Egyptian successful companies were expanding, were choosing to expand in the Middle East and in the Gulf, I personally had a vision, together with my associates and partners in the company, that the right place to expand in is in Africa, because future is in Africa. That's how we all agreed on and thought, and that's why we started to bring our company into African countries, and especially in East Africa, Kenya, of course, Uganda, Tanzania, and also Ethiopia. We found that these are emerging markets where we want to focus when we enter into being an investor rather than just a contractor. Then the second business line the company is market leader in is sporting clubs. We own and operate 5 sporting complexes in Egypt. Each one is ranging between 50,000 square meters to 200,000 square meters, where we invite people to become members in these clubs. These are sporting, leisure, and social clubs. It's called Wadi Degla clubs. Actually, it's a mix between, it's a kind of sharing the investment responsibility with the government for sports infrastructure. In the emerging markets, one of them is Egypt. The government does not have enough money to invest, and I assume that likewise it's also many of the African countries. The countries and the governments, they don't have enough on their budgets to invest in the infrastructure of sports. So we have done this in our country successfully. We were able to generate or to produce a lot of champions from our Wadi Degla sporting club in Egypt. We were able to get the world champion in squash for men and for women. The junior squash for girls we won it last week. We also have a African champion in swimming for ladies, African champion for tennis for men, and we have some players that play in the European First League in a few countries. We have decided to take these sports infrastructure investments into Africa. We started here in Kenya. We are building up 3 different sporting clubs, one in Runda, and one in Karen, and the third one will be in the compound of Mega. Thanks to the support of our partners, the Investment Authority of Kenya, they're really encouraging us, they're pushing us hard, they are doing their best in order to facilitate our investments, and we would love to do something good for this country. We have signed as well an MOU with the Ministry of Sports in Uganda to start the first sports facility in Kampala, in downtown Kampala. I was there last week. And we had a meeting with the First Lady where she confirmed the interest that we also extend the Wadi Degla concept to support the country in the sports investment. I mean, I've seen all the Japanese companies speaking about infrastructure and gas and oil and energy. We are in that sector with our Egyptpro company, but we also care to invest also in people, and I think that investing in people, making people play sports and excel in sports, especially the young guys, this is something also we need to think about how to make our youngsters excel in sports and become champions, as we have successfully done with our country. We are also considering Ethiopia. We had serious talks, and we have a strong local partner there. We are also starting, because we have a food and beverage investment company in Egypt as well. That's the third sector we are active in our country. We are also building a big beverages production facility in Ethiopia, and we are thinking with multinational partners, and also we are thinking to extend this to Kenya and to other African countries. In addition to that, we started to invest in real estate, and we have become one of the top 5 real estate developers in our country. Wadi Degla Developments now is one of the leader companies that provides housing for Egyptians, and also weekend housing on the Mediterranean and on the Red Sea. In addition to that, another segment that our company is active in is financial services. We do own 70% of the #1 leasing company in Egypt. It's called Global Services. It's in partnership with KfW, the famous German bank. This company has started a year ago, but has become the #1 on all the financial evaluation evaluation authorities. They evaluate us as #1 in the last with the achievements we have got. We think that this leasing business is very important if we are thinking to develop East Africa or even the other African countries, promoting manufacturing and encouraging investors to come and invest. I think financial services like leasing is one of the important things that we need to expand. So we've decided also to stretch our global services, global financial services, this company that we own in leasing, into Africa as well. In addition to that, we have another company called Wadi Degla Finance, or Easy Finance, that is providing finance for consumers. In our sporting clubs in Egypt, we were able to get 120,000 families to become members in our clubs. And of course, if you multiply 120,000 families by an average of 4.5 or something, it's the average in our country. Because many of the families also, they get their father-in-law and mother or mother-in-law and so on. So the average is between 4.5 and 5. This means that we have between 550 and 600,000 persons who are members in Wadi Degla, which I think has become a small nation. We believe that we need to expand this concept in Africa. We are also signing an agreement in Nigeria to start the first sporting club there. Actually, I'd love to say that my experience in the last 13 years since we started to invest in Africa and to work in Africa was really very positive. I have very positive vision about the expansion of our company into Africa. I also would like to say that Kenya also, I have a lot of passion towards this country. I like Kenya very much. I think it's one of the countries that whenever I'm here, I really think I like to stay more. It's very peaceful, people are very kind. Same thing, of course, is happening in the other African countries. I'm just saying my emotions towards this country and the support I see from politicians here and from the investment authority. I'm sure that now they wanted to invite some companies to speak, but me being an Egyptian, and I'm really proud to be an Egyptian. I'm a real Egyptian person, so I love my country and being Egyptian very well, but also being an Egyptian and making a witness and a testimony about this very peaceful country and this supportive country for people to come and do business. I really have to say this testimony because the country and the authorities here, they also deserve it. One of the countries that I also have a lot of passion towards them is Ethiopia. I think Ethiopia is one of the countries that needs all of us to look there. The country is developing very well. It's moving very fast. I see a lot of changes whenever I go to Addis every time. Maybe if I travel there after a month or a couple of months, as if I'm seeing a new Addis. So I also have compliments towards that country. I really would like to say that people that are running the development of that country are doing a real good job, and I invite everyone to go there. Don't be scared from Africa. Africa is a real good place, and I think that the returns foreign investors can do in African countries is much more than they can do in anywhere else. And I don't want to forget my original country, Egypt, that I have passion and love towards it. And I also say that the growth of our company that started with very little investments in 1994, and we have become now a multi-billion Egyptian pounds worth company in our country now. This also means and proves that our country, Egypt, is one of the places where also investment is very attractive and returns are very high. Thank you very much for this, and I hope that you get more and more encouraged in order to come and invest in Egypt and every African country, especially Kenya and Egypt as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sami, for that great story of a successful African enterprise. Tea is considered one of the great competitive advantages of Kenya. We actually consider in Kenya that our tea is the best in the world. So the next presentation that we shall have is from Robert Keter, the CEO of Emrock Tea Factory. And for the sake of time, I'll just remind you, kindly limit your presentation to 7 minutes so we can save up on the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon. I know most of you have already had lunch, so I'll do the 7 minutes. Just briefly, I'll tell you about tea before I continue. Is that, as my chairman has said, we are the leading exporter of tea. Last year, we exported over 400 million kilos of tea. Emrock Tea Company is a family-owned company. Before in Kenya, there were no independent factories. We are one of the few independent tea factories. Next slide, please. Emrock Tea Factory originally was started by an Italian, Mr. Barros, and we bought the company in the year 2000. For almost 10 years, we were taking our green leaf to a company called Williamson Tea. But in 2012, we decided to put up our own tea factory, since we had seen that we can achieve more and help the farmers we are having. So the factory was set up within Emrock Tea Factory, and that we established the CTC Tea Factory in 2012, and in July 2015, an orthodox line was added. It is one of the most modern factories in Africa region, utilizing a continuous online withering system, which is crucial for the production of consistently high-quality tea. Next slide, please. We have a state-of-the-art technology in green leaf reception and withering section to eliminate manual handling of tea leaves. The resource is an end product with an exceptional quality and consistent, meeting the world high standard. Being an EPZ company, we are ideally suited for export of both bulk and value-added tea. We take pride in being able to meet the rigorous requirement of the export market. Next slide, please. The tea processed by our factory is grown locally. Most of our green tea leaf is sourced from our Ogirgir estate, and the remaining from over 3,000 surrounding small-scale farmers. We also have 100 workers, over 120 employees who are dedicated to working in the factory, and another 400 working in the field, which is the estate. All of our employees undertake regular in-house training geared towards the implementation of good manufacturing practice and food safety. The factory produces over 200 kilos of black CTC tea daily, and our daily production of commercial orthodox tea is 4,500 kilos, which is a wide assorted variety of grades. Next one, please. Throughout the day, fresh green leaf are brought to the factory. The quality process starts actually right at the field, where those who pick it are trained to selectively pick only the finest 2 leaves and a bud. At the factory, we rigorously check that each and every delivery meets the required standard. Mbrook also is fully 100% pesticides free. We are also registered with the Rainforest Alliance. And we are also an ISO company and member of the Kenya Tea Board, which is now called Kenya Tea Directorate. We are also members of the Ethical Tea Partnership. And we are compliant and also members of the Kenya Board of Standard. Our teas. As I've said, we produce special black orthodox tea, roll green tea, white tea, oolong tea, black CTC tea, green tea, and a few days ago I managed to produce matcha, which I think is very famous in Japan. And you can come to our stand at the end there. We have some tea you can come and taste. Mbrook tea, the orthodox tea, was awarded the Golden Medal Award as the best tea from Kenya in the 4th Annual North American Tea Conference last year. Business opportunity in Mbrook and also in Nandi County. Next slide, please. And the next one. As you see, we are looking for a partner to invest in tea extract plant. Currently, there's only one extract plant in Kenya in one of the largest multinational company. And we are looking to start something which I call the local entrepreneurship, the local homegrown business. And we are looking for people who are interested or company interested to come and join us to build this. Japan is one of the main importers of the tea extract, and that is where because of its health benefits, that's where the demand is going for the tea extract. And as you can see from the next graph, please, is that the main 5 destination of our tea is mainly goes to Egypt, Pakistan, UK, Afghanistan, Sudan, and Japan there is number 25. So we would like to improve Japan to come up maybe to the top 10 even, or it can be the top 5. So we are looking for partners to work on that. And just on a light note is that Nandi County is the source of the champions. All those runners who won the gold medal are from Nandi. Maybe they take our tea, that's why they won the gold medal. So for next Tokyo, for Japan, I'm inviting you, send your people who are preparing for next Olympic, they can come and join us and drink tea with us and train with us, then they can win some gold. For that, thank you very much. I think, Chairman, I did 7 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keter, for that wonderful presentation. And I think perhaps because he didn't have enough time, he should have emphasized on the great medicinal value of tea. Telecommunications has also been a great success story in the continent of Africa. And the next presentation is from Engineer Tamar Shafiq, who's the Director of Business Development in Orascom. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Just a correction, I'm representing Orascom Construction, not telecommunications, so sorry about that. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I must say it's an honor to be here in Kenya to represent the company I work for, Orascom. And also just to say that Orascom was established more than 65 years ago in Africa. First of all, I would like to thank Kenya and its organizations for such a splendid let's say, organization of this event, because everything was so smooth and so good. And thank you, Kenya, for this. Next slide, please. Like I said, our company was established in 1950 in Egypt as a construction company. And also, we are an infrastructure developer. So we develop infrastructure projects like used to be cement plants, currently fertilizer plants, and also all kinds of other infrastructure activities that I'll be talking about later on in more detail. As you can see from the picture you have there, this is our office on the Nile River in Cairo. So please, everybody's invited to visit us someday there. Next slide, please. As an Egyptian company, we have been in operations for 65 years. We also are a parent company of 2 American subsidiaries and 2 European subsidiaries, and that gives us access to funds for investing from Europe and the United States that we invest in Africa and in other places. You can see that we have been having an international ranking in the Engineering News Record magazine. We're from the top 250 international contractors, we're number 34. From the top 10 contractors in Africa, it was just announced that we are number 9 contractor. Next slide, please. As you can see, we just wanted to highlight where the countries we are working in. We are working all over Africa. Of course, we intend to expand these activities in the future. We've been trying in the past several years to get more projects, either on EPC works basis or as a developer or as an EPC plus F developer and contractor. Next slide, please. You will see that our backlog by sector, we've almost 73% in infrastructure and industrial, and also by region, it's almost 50% in Africa. This is the highest we had in Africa so far, but we're trying to expand that, like I said. And you can see that we have a turnover last year of around $5 billion from construction and investing activities in infrastructure. Next slide, please. This slide will show you the magnitude of our resources. We have around $500 million worth of construction equipment around Africa and the Middle East, and we also have around 86,000 people working for Orascom. Out of this, more than 80% are African nationals and located in Africa, and most of them have been working with us for a while. For example, in Algeria, we had at one time 7,000 Algerians working for Orascom. In Nigeria, at one time, we had around 5,000 Nigerians also working for Orascom, and we had many operations there a few years back. Next slide, please. This slide just shows you what we do. Of course, we're working in commercial buildings, metros and railways. We have almost 1,300 kilometers of metro and railway projects experience. As far as cement plant, we have many cement plant experiences. In Africa, we have done cement plants in Egypt, Algeria, and in Nigeria. Also power generation. We have executed more than 14,000 megawatts of power plants. They are all in Africa, actually, and I'll be talking about in detail about some of them very soon. We do airports, roads, and bridges, fertilizers and chemical plants, water and wastewater, and desalination plants as well. You might notice I'm going fast because it was 10 minutes and now it's 7 minutes and everybody wants to go for lunch, so I'm... next slide, please. Just to give you an idea of our track record in financing, we've started by developing cement plants in 1996. We have executed around 40 million tons of cement plants in 10 years, and we were sold to Lafarge, the French company, in 2008. Sold our cement plant activities to them for $15 billion enterprise value, and then we started developing fertilizer plants. In 2008, we started by having 1.3 million tons per annum, and then it increased to around 9 million tons by 2015, and we have an additional 4 million tons under construction currently. The plants in Africa are in Egypt and in Algeria. Last thing, the development and infrastructure projects. We have won the first PPP, public-private partnership project in Egypt, which was a wastewater treatment plant. We are also the winner of the second wastewater treatment plant in Egypt, which would be one of the biggest in the world. We're currently developing an IPP for a coal-fired power plant in Egypt, and also participating in the feed-in tariff program in Egypt as well. Next slide, please. Just to give you an idea of EPC plus F, which is engineering, procurement, and construction, and arranging financing for clients. These two projects you see on the board there are each 4,800 megawatts. They are both under construction now. So they're both 9,600 megawatts. They will add almost 35% to the Egyptian electricity production. we've managed as Orascom, in partnership with Siemens, to bring financing for, let's say, our consortium share from external ECAs. We've managed to bring financing from SACE and also from commercial banks for our portion to the Egyptian Electricity Holding Company, which is the end customer. Next slide, please. It's just to mention, I wanted to mention very briefly about the major projects that Japan has been developing in Egypt. We're very lucky to have the Japanese government participating very much, let me say, in Egypt. First project you see there is Burj Al Arab Airport, where the Japanese government has provided a soft loan for the Egyptian government for that, and Orascom was the EPC contractor for that. And the second project there is the Egyptian Grand Museum, which is the largest archaeological museum in the world, which we're also lucky to have the Japanese government financing that. We are also the EPC contractor for that in Egypt. They have provided $300 million, and now they're working on providing more than another $400 million for that, because just to help the Egyptian government finance the rest of the project. They're also involved in Cairo Metro Line 4. They're providing financing for that, where we have already Japanese partners, Taisei and Mitsubishi Corporation, for this project. And there is also upcoming Burj Al Arab Airport Phase 2, which will also be funded. Next slide, please. There's also Dairut hydropower plant and Hurghada 20 megawatt PV plant that the Japanese are also funding, and the 220 megawatt wind project. And finally, there's the BOO 250 megawatt wind project, where we are in partnership with Toyota Tsusho and providing financing from JBIC for that project as well, which was a competitive tender in Egypt. I come to the conclusion of my presentation. I'd like to thank you very much for listening, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Engineer Shafiq. Having listened to those three great African stories, our very final presentation in this session is from Mr. Varun Mahajan, the Vice President and Commercial Head of Olam International. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Jambo. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to be present and speaking at this August forum. I would like to thank the government of Zambia for inviting me for this. Olam is a leading agribusiness operating in 70 countries, supplying food and industrial raw materials to over 16,200 customers around the world. Listed on the Singapore Stock Exchange, we have built global leadership positions in cocoa, coffee, cotton, cashew, rice, and more. Olam is committed to growing responsibly, commercially, socially, and environmentally. Olam has been present in Africa for over 25 years, since its inception. We sourced our first product, cashews, from Nigeria in 1989. Today, we are present in 24 countries in Africa, where our supply chains include procurement, export, import, farms and plantations, processing, as well as packaged food and distribution. We buy from over 2.5 million smallholders and have 25 major processing sites all over Africa. Olam strongly believes in Africa's potential. Hence, our investment over the years of $2.6 billion across the continent. To ensure long-term growth, our business model is built on unlocking value for all the parties. Mitsubishi Corporation of Japan took a 20% equity stake in Olam in 2015 to become the second largest shareholder after Temasek Holdings of Singapore. Also, Sanyo Foods, the third largest instant noodles maker in Japan, took a 25% stake in Olam's packaged foods business in 2014. I'm here to talk of Zambia and our business aspirations with relation to Japan. Olam has been present in Zambia for the last 9 years, involved in cotton, coffee, grains, and fertilizers. In 2012, Olam decided to invest 50 million US dollars in a coffee plantation in Zambia, which would become one of the world's largest fully irrigated coffee plantations. Zambia is a great destination for agriculture. It has over 23 million hectares of agricultural land as per FAO. It is said to have 42% of Africa's groundwater resources. In agriculture, it has some of the best yields in the world in sugarcane and can grow a wide variety of crops owing to the weather. The Investment Promotion Authority in Zambia, the Zambia Development Authority, is extremely proactive in attracting investors and provides a one-stop shop to ensure that investors face minimum obstacles in setting up their businesses. The Zambian government also focuses on development of infrastructure, which is extremely important for investment and for business. Over the years, we've had very positive experiences in Zambia, which makes us very confident of our investments in Zambia. Japan has had a very deep and old relationship with Africa. Cumulative FDI from Japan to Africa has gone up from 758 million US dollars in 2000 to close to 10.5 billion US dollars in 2014 as per Forbes magazine. Majority of this FDI has been in the form of official development assistance, which needs to move towards long-term Japanese investments. A few other areas where I feel Japan can make a huge difference to Africa is, first of all, Japan is known for its high technology agriculture, which results in excellent yields. Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, can gain a lot from this technology. Sub-Saharan Africa has the lowest actual crop yield as a percentage of potential yield anywhere. If the right amount of water, fertilizer, finance, and labor are brought together, the region has the highest growth potential of any agricultural sector in the world. Japan is also known to be a producer of high-quality food products. Using the agricultural base in Zambia and in Africa, Japan needs to move away from only buying commodities to actually produce, process, and manufacture their products in Africa. Africa can then also become a market for these products from Japan that have been manufactured in Africa. I thank you all for listening. I would also like to congratulate the organizers for putting together this excellent ticad6. Asante sana, arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you very much for that presentation. That brings us to the end of this session, and I think listening to the four presentations, it is clearly manifest that Africa is a continent that is ready to do business, and a continent that has huge and abundant opportunities. I think for us now in the private sector, what remains to be done is for us to convert the contacts that we make in this forum into contracts. With those few words, let me say thank you for your attention, and I hand over back to the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So for the closing...
Distinguished participants, captains of industry who have been with us all the time, since Friday, the great speakers who have spoken since Friday,